Hello, welcome back to About Time. I'm Stephen and I've been a Doctor Who fan since 2005. Normally I'm joined on the podcast by my boyfriend Ben, who's never seen the show before. But today I'm joined by two guests. I'm joined by Simon and Nick. Hello.
Hello.
Hey there.
Nick, you've been on the podcast a couple of times before for the Star Beast and Rogue, so welcome back.
Thank you for having me back. It's an honour.
Pleasure. And Simon, this is your first time.
It is. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
You're very welcome. And we're here to talk about this week's episode, Lucky Day.
Oh, it was a good one, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It was.
Mm-hmm.
Was anyone expecting that? Like, the thing is, this series has had, like, a very strong sort of link to the first series in that each episode kind of feels like it's following a format and it's very similar. Like,
Yes.
Episode 1 was the silly space adventure, Episode 2 was the god, Episode 3 was in space in one place and a big threat. This did actually have, like, slightly 73 Yards vibes with it being Ruby on her own and just getting to go up against everything by herself, prove she's an absolute queen, and also, we'll probably come back to it later, but setting something up for further down the line. Because in 73 Yards, we had, was it Roger Ap-Gwilliam as the bad guy? And that was setting up something further down the line. It kind of feels like they've done that here too.
Yeah, I would agree.
I totally agree that there's a symmetry between the format of the last series and this one. I could see that too.
Yeah, like 73 Yards, it was kind of an episode of two halves. Like, very different tonally once the twist happens and you realise what's going on.
Can I just say, poor Ruby?
Yeah, I feel so sorry for her.
I felt so bad. Did anyone else kind of see it coming though?
I don't think I did, I'll be honest.
Maybe I'm just really jaded.
Yeah.
Are we referring to the revelation of Conrad?
Yeah.
I will say yes, I did.
Oh, I'm glad it's not just me.
Okay, I'm just naive and trusting and gullible then.
I know that there has been a very sort of prevalent theme of toxic masculinity in quite a lot of the episodes, and it's a very current topic. I don't know if anybody's watched Adolescence. I see that there are facets of men that therefore Conrad is reflective of, and also that side of the internet with Red Pill and the manosphere. So I could see that being set up, and I think it was an exploration into that.
Definitely. And I think a lot of it, like, even from those early scenes with him, it felt very orchestrated, like spilling his coffee, dropping the papers. It was all total rom-com. It was so sweet and lovely. But, like, there was the love bombing. There was the, like, manipulation, tell me more about Unit. Almost like Conrad's narcissism was showing all along with the love bombing and the orchestration of the whole thing. And I just thought, oh my God, poor Ruby.
I found on a second watch, all those things were screamingly obvious. But I think on a first watch, I was giving it the benefit of the doubt and just sort of thinking that was just the kind of tone of episode they were going for. But then, as you say, on a second watch, you can see the subtleties of Jonah Howard-King's performance. Like, even when he's being the quote-unquote nice guy, there are moments where you see his truth, like, coming out. Like, when she says about, oh, maybe people are just afraid of the truth, and he does this little scoff of, like, on the podcast, and it's like, yeah.
My wife's amazing. She could tell that when he said that his mother was dead, that he was lying. She said it right then. She went, liar, like that. She's great.
Wow.
It's quite interesting, you know, because we're 20 years on now from the revival. And I was actually thinking about this earlier, and his intent is awful. It is narcissistic. And then you think back to Love and Monsters, and you've got Elton doing pretty much the same thing on a level, but it's more slapstick and it's more sort of like, you know, you've upset my mum. And actually the intent is very much the same, but 20 years later, we're actually exploring the truth of how this stuff happens, and it's incredibly harmful.
Yes. I thought that was really well done, actually, because they really went hard on those parallels to Love and Monsters, particularly that scene where he finds the TARDIS in an alleyway and he, like, reaches out his hand to touch it, and then here's the roar. It's very much like a deliberate parallel to Love and Monsters. But like you say, they're taking it and looking at it in a different lens, rather than it just being a bit of a laugh, actually taking it in a completely different direction and exploring, like, the relevance to real world issues.
Yeah, it's like Simon said about rom-coms. If you watch most 90s rom-coms now, you'll actually find that they are actually quite bad, and there is an element of deception involved.
Oh, yeah.
And we've been taught to laugh at it, but nowadays we actually see more the reality of it.
100%.
At least we've kind of realised now, though, we can sit there and go, that was bad, but yeah, we can see it for what it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously this was a Doctor and Belinda Light episode. A fantastic episode, but I was sad about the lack of Belinda, particularly, because she's been so good.
No, I love her. I love her so much.
But she was great in that one little scene she had, where she's asking him what year it is, and she's like, please say it starts with a 20 at least,
And of course we got the obligatory Vindicator scene as well.
Yes.
I will say I love the coats.
Do you?
Everyone had a nice coat. Dr. Belinda, Conrad, they all had nice coats.
That's true. I noticed Conrad's, yeah. But did you see that in the first episode, in the flashback to young Belinda getting the star certificate, she was wearing a coat that Ruby had worn in the previous series?
Oh, I hadn't seen that.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
They were like, they just recycled that in the costume department, but...
Oh, the denim one.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Well, I think this episode was the Dr. Light one, wasn't it? Because they were filming Robot Revolution alongside it.
Yes, that makes sense, yeah.
So they just got, like, them in one room doing this and then Millie and the others in the other room doing that.
Yeah. So I have some questions about Conrad's podcast, Lucky Day. So what is his podcast actually about? Is it all actually about his, furthering his claims about his conspiracies and things? And did Ruby just really not research it at all before she went on it? Or is it some long game of he's been pretending to be this sweet guy?
Potentially. I think, in my head, it was a case of he's doing it to mock people. Like, he's pretending to be one of the people that he hates to see how much engagement he can get so he can just take the mick.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's like those people who do those things online. Like isn't there that guy who's... I can't remember his name, but he basically pretended to be a trans woman. Just to mock trans people, and it was a quote unquote social experiment, and he's just disgusting. So you think he's along those lines? Yeah,
it's inexplicable. It doesn't make sense to us, but to them in their strange minds, it seems to be a thing that they'll do.
He obviously had a bit of a following, though. He obviously had people who were behind him, so he had obviously amassed followers to then, get into their minds and get them to back him. So, yeah, he must have been playing a long game with that podcast, because I don't see it as something he would have just created there and then to get Ruby on. So it must have had a prolonged amount of time.
Yeah. So he's been, over his life, he's been keen to find out more about the Doctor and things like that. And then after being rejected from UNIT 8 years prior to the episode, he seems to then have gone down a sort of, well, fuck you sort of route of rejection. And yeah, so I guess he's had that time since then to kind of build something up.
Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? Because that's that thing again. So he really wanted to be in that world of the Doctor and Belinda. And yeah, the rejection happened. And then so he's kind of gone in with the, well, if you're not going to give this to me, I'm going to take this for myself.
Absolutely. So I'll be honest, on my first watch, I don't think I got that. I think I was confused as to how he could possibly believe that all this UNIT stuff was fake. But on a second watch and a third watch now as well, I don't believe he really does believe that stuff. I think he's just using it for power and clout.
Yeah. I guess on the flip side as well, though, you've got Kate, every time something happens, she's like, blame it on Darren Brown again.
True.
She's always got something like, or they're always finding ways to sort of manipulate the public into thinking that it's not an alien thing. So I don't really know. Like, maybe he is going down that route of UNIT are fake because they're always covering it up.
Are they still doing that, though, or has that stopped now they've got the massive tower and all that?
Actually, that's the point, yeah.
UNIT went public,
they've got the big tower now. They can't hide it.
No.
What I think was beautifully and delicately put was that, and we did see it at the beginning, was that, of course, Conrad was neglected by his mother. That's rejection. He went up to his mum and was like, Mum, look what I experienced. And then she's like, no, not now, and even slaps him on the face. And of course, that sowed a really horrible seed in him, which was that rejection sensitivity. And I would even go as far to say a hatred towards women. And then that then developed into his sort of personality, the narcissism. And so therefore, he experiences the rejection from Unit, from even later the Doctor, who was the person he was trying to connect with and meet. And then that becomes anger and rage and destruction. And I said to my wife this morning, I said, you know, he's choosing the bad path when he's had his arm bitten off by a monster and he still hasn't learned his lesson.
Yeah, that was so deserved.
Did they reattach it then? Is that what that silver thing is?
Yeah, I think so. That's what I took from it.
Yeah. I think when we're telling stories about villains who've had traumatic backstories, I think we have to be careful not to sort of suggest that everyone who has trauma in their backstory is going to then go evil because of it.
Of course.
But obviously sometimes it can go down that path. And I suppose it makes him a bit more believable as to where these psychological issues he's got have come from.
Yeah. In my own experience of having counselling, we can look at our story as what has happened to us, but ultimately what we do with it is our responsibility. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you've got on the flip side, we're looking at Ruby's own experience with PTSD, and that's not even come from anything that you would call big T trauma or small T trauma. She had adventures, and yet we are looking at it from a different perspective of, well, actually, you were dangling over London on a ladder. You have experienced the supernatural. That is traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, oh, bless her, though. And she's like, I'm always on alert. I always think something's going to go wrong. And I was like, that hit so hard when she was talking about it from her perspective and like the ways that she's dealt with trauma. And I was like, I had a little tear in my eye for her.
I quite enjoyed the scene where you see that little sort of flashback that slots into series 1 with the Doctor and Ruby dealing with the Shriek. It was nice that they were in like a shop and they had the mannequins. It sort of felt like a Rose reference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to be Autons.
Yeah,
I did for a second, to be fair. I loved it. And it was in the old building where they filmed, well, they used the exterior at least for series 1, wasn't it? And then again, was it the same shop in Closing Time in season 6 as well?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's only one shop in Wales, famously. Yeah, I think I saw a picture beforehand of him holding out the test tube with the antidote to Ruby. And I think my brain thought of anti-plastic.
Oh. I think it was a lovely touch just because I think it helped to make it feel very cohesive for the last series. Because, a lot of people think that the 8-episode duration wasn't long enough to actually get to know their relationship very well. So it was lovely to return back to that.
Yeah, to get to see that they were doing stuff in between as well. Because like Ruby says, it was half an hour ago we were with the Beatles, and then they're going to go off and probably do a million more things before the Doctor stands on that landmine.
Yeah. It's funny, though, when she said half an hour, because you think, well, they've got into a hell of a lot of trouble with that Shriek in half an hour.
It also reminded me of that scene in Love and Monsters, the Scooby-Doo scene.
100%, yeah.
There were definitely so many parallels to Love and Monsters when you really look at it. And I kind of love that because I think Love and Monsters is an underrated one.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because there's so much to love in it, like the Jackie stuff. And it's terrible and it's a bit of a mess, but there's so much to love in it.
Yeah.
It literally is Love and Monsters.
Yeah.
Both sides are the same thing.
Yeah, just don't mention the paving slab and we're all good.
Yeah. We'll pretend that never happened.
Oh, yeah, well.
They would never get away with that.
No. So what did we like the Shriek as a thing?
Yeah, it was nicely designed, scary. I'd like a bit more, like to see it in an actual adventure, because it felt like it was kind of just there to serve a purpose for the story. Because normally we get the monster of the week, which this week was Conrad. So the monster was kind of second to the monster.
I don't know if you watched Unleashed, but they showed how they made the real Shriek and then they made the fake Shriek, where they got a sculptor to kind of come in and look at the Shriek for about 30 seconds and then go away and model it based on memory. And they used like older processes, like just stiff rubber that wouldn't move properly and stuff like that for the fake ones. And so watching it the first time, that scene when they're outside the pub and they're sort of jumping on the cars and things, I was watching it thinking, oh no, they don't look good. And you're sort of trying to ignore it and just get on with the episode. And then gradually it comes into the forefront and she says, hold on, they're not Shriek. And they stand up and take their masks off. And
so they look like vintage Who monsters.
Yeah, it's that wooden stiffness about the movement and stuff, wasn't it? It's just like something was that little bit off that you can't quite put your finger on.
Yeah.
And then it all becomes apparent.
When they do the real Shriek, you've got the sort of monster performers who are like very physical performers who know how to do all this sort of choreographed movement. And then obviously you've got the fake ones and it's just like Sparky and his mate. in a rubber suit.
I didn't actually realise Sparky was his friend. I thought Sparky was a dog. So I thought they were trying to look for a dog.
That's brilliant.
I thought they were all like getting panicked over a dog, like getting like chased by them. Because she came in with a dog.
Yeah. Oh,
so
yeah.
I just thought, has she like lost her other dog? Because Sparky, I would call like a dog's name. So.
That lady who came in with the dog, this is it's actually not that niche a reference, but she reminded me of the lady in Fawlty Towers who has a dog who she wants the sausages cut up for. And then she's like, they put pepper or something on it. And she's like, my baby's been poisoned or whatever. She reminded me of that lady.
That was another really strange parallel with 73 Yards as well, that part. It was the pub and the locals are in on it. Like, it was so strange.
You're
how
right, yes.
I genuinely think there's more to it than we think, because when you look at it really closely, it just becomes more and more obvious that there's really something there in the links.
It does definitely feel like it's leading towards that being deliberate for some reason. But I also wonder are we just thinking that because the alternative is they're just recycling ideas?
Possibly.
So we'll wait and see. We'll find out whether it's deliberate or just lack of originality.
It can't be that specific though, even in terms of like which episode is which. Like it's got to be something.
Yeah, that is true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just think Ruby Sunday should just never set foot in a pub again and she'll be all right.
Oh, poor Ruby.
Yeah.
Just avoid every pub for the rest of your life. You'll be fine.
Yeah, although I said that on Twitter and someone pointed out, well, she does live in the UK, so that's quite tricky.
Love it.
I really quite like the revelation at the end of it was Conrad who led the Doctor to Belinda.
Yes.
In that very timey-wimey way, because, of course, that was left a bit open-ended in the first one. And that again, was a bit like with how the Doctor met Clara. It turned out to be Missy. But, of course, this time it's in series and it was Conrad that led the Doctor to Belinda.
Yes.
Yeah, because in that first episode, the Doctor's looking for Belinda and we're like, why is he looking for her? And then the whole weird timey thing of the Doctor meeting young Conrad with Belinda and giving him the 50p. Is the 50p going to be important further on? That's the thing. Because has he still got that?
I thought it was the Queen's nose.
Can you imagine? He can control everything by just rubbing the Queen's nose and being like, I want this, I want... Oh, don't say that's what Wish World's going to be.
Oh, my God.
Now you mention it. Imagine if the Wish World is
it's
Queen's
Queen's
nose
crossover.
And, of course, Queen in Hindi is Rani, so...
Potentially, yeah. Oh,
you heard it here first.
Are we still going down the line of Flood being Rani?
I don't know.
I don't know anymore.
I really don't know. I don't know if we will see.
She's definitely given more sinister vibes.
She's getting worse as it goes on, isn't it? It's getting creepier and creepier every time. And now she's obviously got Conrad on side because she's broken him out of prison, so he's going to be like her little helper. So what is coming next?
Do you know what I find the most creepiest and unsettling about Mrs. Flood? Before she had that facade of like jolly, big smiley neighbour with like the passive aggressiveness. Like she didn't smile.
No.
Like when she was the governor, she was very like stony faced, and that was actually quite creepy.
Yes, the last two episodes, it does feel like the mask has come off and we're seeing her for real.
She's definitely getting a lot colder.
Yeah. I was wondering what date or what dates does this episode take place, because it's obviously 2025. But it must be before May because of the whole finale thing.
Yeah.
I guess, that gives you several months to work with. But yeah, it was interesting.
Assuming the Doctor goes straight after Belinda, would it probably put it maybe a few days before May 24th? Because was that when she was trying to get back to? So that's where she was taken from. So maybe, assuming we've gone straight after Belinda, it could be May this year.
But how would the Doctor even know where to look for Belinda? Because he's got the whole of time and space to choose from.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I tell you what, though. So this was written by Pete McTighe, who's doing the war between the land and the sea.
Oh.
And this is meant to be a sort of taster for us of what to expect with the setup with UNIT and everything. Was anybody getting Torchwood vibes with the handing of the cup of coffee and liking to work late?
Yes. I mean, I picked up straight away that there's something going on between them two, and I was like, Kate, you go, girl.
Because we got that hint at the end of the first series, didn't we, where they held hands.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, really? It's a bit dodgy. Like, she is his superior.
Absolutely.
And, like, who does she answer to? Like, is it the United Nations?
I think it's like Geneva.
Well, I think we're starting to see Kate answering to herself.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Kate doesn't care.
I think that that's something that's being set up, is that I think we're actually going to see a bit of a darker side to Kate in the war between the land and the sea, where she's actually her own authority. And that's what she was being sort of held accountable to. Is like, I think you went a bit far this time. And she said, oh, well, never mind, that he lived, didn't he?
Absolutely. It's like they always say power corrupts. And so you've got someone in that position, they tend to go down that route and think, well, I can do whatever I think is right in that moment.
I love the fact that, like, she was just like, she was holding back, and then he insulted her dad, and she was just like, nope, that's it, line crossed. And she just went for it, and she was going to let him die. And I'm like, wow, she's a queen.
Yeah.
You don't insult the brig.
No. Do we think she would actually have let the creature kill him if people hadn't stepped in and said something?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I think she might, but I think at the same time she would have maybe stopped at the last second still.
Because if it had gone down that route, I mean, she wouldn't have been able to brush that under the carpet the way she did.
And that would have, again, reflected badly on UNIT.
Yeah. Especially as it was being live streamed, wasn't it?
I think she maybe would have stopped it, but reluctantly.
Yeah.
I mean, this could be something that we're going to see more of in the spin-off series. That could be some setup for that on, like, how far does Kate actually go? And is this something that now, because UNIT is this massive public entity that everybody knows about and isn't shielded by secrecy and the need to keep things under wraps, is that what then creates more of the danger?
Well, exactly. I just think it was a really cool thing to take Conrad, who, as we said earlier, like, doesn't actually believe this bullshit he's spouting, and then actually just shove him up to face with the reality and be like, oh, it's not real, is it? Like, shoving it in his face. And it reminded me of these, like, these people who deny climate change and stuff.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is a lot about what the episode was saying. You can show them all the scientific data in the world, and they will still find a way to twist it.
Yeah, there's so many subjects that people do that on, isn't there? Like climate change, like flat Earth, like so many things.
Vaccines.
Yeah, you're sheep, you follow in the crowd, you're blind, and it's like, literally, we've got all the evidence here, look at it, and they're like, I reject your truth, which is literally what Conrad said.
Yes.
Like, I don't accept your reality, I reject it and stuff. It's like, but how can you reject the truth?
It's a very interesting psychological thing, isn't it? People, obviously, it gives them some sense of superiority, that they think, oh, I can see it clearly, I know better than you.
Mm-hmm. It's quite interesting that the finale is called The Reality War.
Mm-hmm.
And it's when he said, I reject that reality, that's when Mrs. Flood came in.
Yes.
That is a really good point. I'd not thought about that.
Just speculation at this point.
Yeah.
He's going to rub that nose on that 50p and make his wish. Now I've likened that to Wish World. You've got that in my head now. That's what it's going to be. It's the Queen's nose.
It's a Queen's nose crossover.
You heard it here first.
Russell's revived one of the best CBBC shows there was.
Right. I've held back long enough. I think it's time to play a certain jingle.
Hottie of the week, hottie of the week, hottie of the week, hottie of the week. Let's find out who is hottie of the week.
I mean, I have two candidates. Obviously, I know he's a piece of shit, but Conrad, he's a very attractive man. Jonah Howard King.
He's very beautiful.
As Jonah, definitely, but
Yes.
as Conrad, absolutely not.
No, I know.
In our house, he is affectionately known as Prince Eric in The Little Mermaid. So
Oh, 100%,
I
yeah.
think it would have been nightmare fuel for my daughter to see him being so horrible to Ruby.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, oh, he looked good in The Little Mermaid as well with a wet shirt. I would never forget that.
yeah. Yeah. If we're talking about, like, Jonah, Little Mermaid, yes, definitely. He is hot.
And another villainish, but I also thought Jordan Lang was quite cute.
Yeah, he was cute.
And then everyone goes on about Colonel Ibrahim, but for some reason he's never really done it for me. But
Oh, absolutely.
He's your one, is he?
He's my one for definite. Like, my boyfriend was like, you're obsessed with him. And I was like, I'm not obsessed. I just think he's very pretty.
Yeah, that should be the title of my autobiography.
I'm not obsessed. He's just very pretty.
Yeah.
I still maintain that Shooty is a very beautiful man, and I
Yes.
loved the all-white outfit. I thought he was really rocking that.
Oh, fantastic, yes. And I love, Nick, that as our token straight guest, you can still get involved in this conversation.
Of course. Hey, why not?
Absolutely.
I mean, everyone can tell that Shooty's stunning, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love his outfits. I said that the last time I was on. Like, actually, part of what I enjoy is actually seeing what he's going to wear, because he just rocks everything.
Yeah.
Like, so many people complain that the Doctor has a different outfit every week now rather than the one that they just wear all the time. But that kind of was changing with Capaldi, because he had different outfits all the time. Matt Smith had multiple different ones. They've all kind of got changed occasionally.
I like it when there's a kind of variation around a similar theme. Like, Tennant had the brown suit and the blue suit, which is sort of the same silhouette, but just a different version. And I love Shooty's different costumes every week. But I feel like it would be good if this was just particular to this incarnation. He's the one who wears loads of different outfits.
I was laughing about it the other day, how Shooty affectionately referred to both him and John Pertwee as sluts.
I missed that.
That's so
Did
funny.
you?
And John Pertwee, of all people.
Yeah. Shooty has an absolute affection towards John Pertwee. He called him my baby, and he said in an interview, he said, "Oh, I have a real resonance with John Pertwee. We're both sluts with our different outfits."
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's the context. Because
Yes.
there is this old advert, and I don't know if I can actually repeat what John Pertwee says in it.
Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah.
He's selling washing machines, and then this woman asks him a question, and he says the most horrific thing. And
Oh, no.
I keep watching it, going back to it, going, how was this even... This was in the 80s as well, and I'm like, how was this even allowed?
I have seen the clip. Was it a real advert, or I always thought it was an outtake or something?
I don't know. I need to find out if it was real or not, but
Okay.
it's there, and it exists, and I'm like, how did they get away with him saying that?
So for anyone who doesn't know, is this the one where he says, "Show us your tits and I'll tell you"?
Yeah. It's awful.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And it just comes out of nowhere.
I mean, it's not a far cry from the role of the Doctor Who companion in the 70s. Like, you'd imagine Joe Grant saying, "But Doctor, what's this for?" And he says, "Show us your tits and I'll tell you."
It's crazy.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
dear.
my gosh.
I'm sorry, but I just couldn't take my eyes off Jonah the whole time. Like, the scene when he's sitting there and they're having the restaurant date or the coffee or whatever, and he gets out this 50p on a chain, and he just,
Oh, well, the shirt open when he exposes Think Tank, the sort of
Oh, yeah.
know.
yeah.
I love that Cherry's been looking at topless pictures of him on Instagram.
Oh my God, yes, that's the best scene. Carla says, if you scroll down, he's got his shirt off. And then
That's it.
at the end of the scene, you just see Cherry just madly scrolling on her whatever device she's using. It was fun to see Louise, is it Louise, is that her name? The birth mum?
Yes.
Just hanging out with Cherry and Carla.
I honestly love that.
They're sort of all become part of the family.
It's just so cute. And then there was the other bit as well where Ruby's talking to Kate, and then Kate's telling her to go heal, get herself better, and she's there for her when she comes back. She gives her that big hug. And then I just screamed at the TV, and I was like, "Oh, she's got 3 mums now." And then Shirley comes past, and she's like, "Do you collect them? You've already got 2." Because she's got a mum who brought her up with Carla. She's got a birth mum, Louise, who's come back into her life. And now she's got the mum that she can turn to about the alien stuff in Kate.
Yeah.
It's just really nice little dynamic.
It is nice. I like the concept of Louise being part of the family and them all hanging out. But I did just feel like the scene of them just sitting at the kitchen table just felt a bit, I don't know, just a bit wooden, like they were just all sitting there. Like, I feel like if this had been like an RTD1 era thing, there would have been a bit more...
Yeah, a little bit more to it.
Yeah, I just feel like Carla just sits there and speaks while sitting at a kitchen table all the time without, like, if it was Jackie, she'd be putting her washing in or doing something. And I just feel like they all sort of sit there like they're just going to say their lines round a table.
It was nice to see Cherry getting up and about, though.
Literally going to say the same thing. Is this the first time she's been out of bed?
Yeah.
I think we saw, when the TARDIS appeared and she said, "What the blinking flip?" I think she was standing up then, but...
Oh, she might have been. I'm sure it's the first time we've seen her properly out of bed, bless her.
Yeah.
And I think she got her cup of tea.
Oh, she finally got it.
She got the tea.
We can all die happy now.
It's taken long enough to get that cup of tea to her.
Yeah.
I wonder if Ruby's mum or anything like that's going to factor into the finale, or do you think that that element of her backstory is just completely like done with now?
That's a good question.
I don't know, because I think we've got a lot going on already with Belinda and Mrs. Flood and this and that. So unless it all ties together somehow, I feel like it would be a lot to fit in. But we have had 2 mentions now of this dad of Ruby's, which feels like maybe that could be... Is it significant, or are they just filling in some details for us so that we're aware that that's going on for her character?
Yeah, it feels like it could be a gap filler. But I don't know, like, sometimes with gap fillers, they stick it in and then it's important, isn't it?
Yeah. We got another appearance from our lovely Trinity Wells. Well, I say lovely. She's not so lovely anymore. She's gone down a bit of a dark path.
Yes.
She has, hasn't she? Like, she's not so nice now. Not lovely Trinity that we used to know and love.
No. I wonder what happened, what changed her career down that path.
I think, do you know what? I think there was actually an audio about this.
Oh.
And
Really?
I can't remember which Doctor it was. Potentially a Torchwood one or a Captain Jack one from the Lives of Captain Jack, maybe. And he ends up having to work with her as like a bodyguard or something. It's ages since I listened to it, but I think that does kind of bridge the gap a little bit.
Oh, interesting. Because she was always, in that first era, she was such a sort of reliable, like, respectable source of news, like a grounding sort of figure. And now she's completely succumbed to this, these silly right-wing conspiracy things. And I feel, I mean, I don't know much about American television, but I feel like it's a lot less regulated than RTV over here. So I like things like Fox News and stuff. Like, I feel like they can be a lot more just say shit that isn't true. And it just sort of seems to fit into that.
Yeah. It's very Conrad, isn't it? With the, in quotes, alternative facts and fake news and all that sort of stuff.
Mm. And she does have her own show now. She was an anchor for another sort of big like newscaster, I think, in the first era of Russell T Davies. And now it's the Trinity Wells show. So this again links back to the idea of what happens when you've actually got more power and less boundaries. When she was the news anchor on the show, she had to follow particular rules and regulations. But of course, this is her own show now. So whatever she says goes.
Yeah.
That's it. And she's on one.
She's on one.
She's on a roll. It's been nice to see her back, though. Like, this era, she's kind of popped up occasionally. It's very RTD, and I love that.
It's a nice Easter egg for those of us who notice and would, say casual viewers, it would mean nothing.
Yeah.
But for us hardcore fans, we can be like, oh my God, remember her in Aliens of London talking about the nuclear access codes like 20 years ago? And, again, just like RTD1, we got all our celebrity cameos in there.
Mm-hmm.
It felt very of that era, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
With, what's his name? Joel Dommett.
Yeah.
Which was...
And Jonathan Ross.
They clearly just filmed that bit of him and then just inserted a reaction shot of Jonathan Ross. Like...
I saw that.
So random. But that was what they did all the time, wasn't it, in RTD1? Like, there was, like, episodes like Army of Ghosts and stuff where there was just all the celebrities talking about the ghosts and...
Yeah.
Like you mentioned before with the Trinity Wells talking about the aliens in London and stuff.
Yeah, I used to love that. And like talking about voting for Harold Saxon and like Sharon Osbourne.
Yeah.
He could tick my box any day.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice little thing that kind of cements it in that moment in time. So when you go back and you watch it and you're like, oh, I remember that. Or I totally forgot about that celebrity and they were huge at the time. And it really cements it as of that time.
Yeah, it's like a time capsule.
Yeah.
But yeah, also it's a great shorthand way of showing the great impact of the things that are happening in these stories. I think that's why it works so well in the original series and now. It's like just have a quick montage of how it's being addressed on the news and then how public figures that we know are sort of responding to it. It makes it increase in scale.
And then it kind of grounds it as well. It gives it that reality that makes it feel like it could actually happen.
Mm. And I guess as well, it's all about the fascination with media because the modern media is on our phones and podcasts, and yet there's still that bit that grounds it into television.
That's true, actually, because television as a medium is kind of not as significant as it was 20 years ago. And yet they're still doing that, but then they're incorporating other things like all the TikTok montage screens that they had up.
That's a good point, actually. Were any of those people, because that flew over my head completely because I'm not on TikTok, were those people TikToking, were they people who are well known or were they just actors?
I think they were just random actors. Yeah. But the idea being that everyone's talking about it and they've, everyone's got their opinions.
Yeah, it made it like a proper big event, didn't it? Like, so Conrad's sort of little plot did have really far reaches, which was interesting as well, because just to quickly bring it back to the classic era, I saw a thing earlier that was explaining that Think Tank actually goes back and has its roots in the Fourth Doctor's first story, which was Robot. And it's been, again, years since I've watched that one, so I can't fully remember all the details, but apparently it connects to that. Might be a different type of think tank. It might be a different group, but it does have the same name.
Yeah, it seems like a deliberate reference.
Yeah, because again, they were against UNIT in the original, so they're still against UNIT now. Is it somehow connected or just coincidence?
Talking about the all the meta stuff as well, like I said it last season, but it really does seem to be piling on all these meta references that suggest that maybe the Doctor's in a TV show or, things about stories and this and that. And I noticed a couple from Conrad in this, which were nice. Obviously, his comment about at least your special effects are improving, which felt like a nod to the Disney budget.
Yeah.
And then when he said to Ruby about Ruby Sunday, and he went, or if that even is your real name, because it's ridiculous. Like, because it is quite a silly name for a character.
To be fair, I reacted that way.
Yeah. Also, lovely to see Shirley back, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
She's such an icon.
And do you know what? The thing, like, with Shirley, absolutely adore her, but the bit that got me so riled up and made me hate Conrad more than anything was that comment that he made to her about being on benefits.
Yeah.
Like, that was just, it was just a little bit too real for, like, what people like him say to people who have disabilities or are wheelchair users or literally anything. They'll just be like, you're using it for benefits. And it's like so bad that it kind of, my jaw hit the floor and I was like, right, I want him dead.
Oh, absolutely.
Straight away. That was the moment where I went from not liking him to fully hating him.
It shows you exactly what kind of person you're dealing with now.
Because this series hasn't shied away from that, has it? Like, with the transphobia towards Rose, with the racism in Fine Time, like, it's very blatant, it's very there. And as horrible and as hard-hitting as it is and as hard to watch as it is, it does ground it, because we can't all be Kates and Rubies and Belindas. There are awful people out there, and it's representing them in quite an accurate light.
Yeah.
It's fascinating too with that comment, because as we know, this series was filmed quite far in advance. Like, it was filmed probably closer to 2 years ago now. And in the time that has passed since, which I don't know if Russell T Davies has got like a magic ball or something that he looks at, we've, of course, politically, we've had the whole benefits reform since then, and people on disability benefit having their benefits taken. So it's quite interesting that one cropped up.
Sadly, I think it's just shows that the kind of world we're living in, and Russell has his finger on the pulse, and you can see the direction things are going in if you're looking. It's quite depressing, isn't it? It's like living through years and years. His series.
I'm gonna say that was terrifyingly accurate. I watched it again recently and was just like, how did he even predict all that stuff? So much, so much of it is just either happened or happening or looks like it could happen. It's like, nope. Terrifying.
Yeah. The thing about Years and Years, though, I know this is not a Years and Years podcast, but what I quite like about it is the fact that you've got this family as a kind of constant throughout the whole thing. And it kind of, to me, says that, yes, the world is going to shit and all these awful things happen, but life goes on and you find a way to get through it.
Yeah.
Well, what's quite interesting is we know that there's the impending demolition of the Earth. So all this stuff is happening. And how does it all get better after that?
Well, yeah.
It's like macro and micro, isn't it? Like all of these things that are happening in the world that we are seeing in these stories. And yet the biggest thing on a grand scale, just the world completely ending. It's like, where does it all fit in that?
Yeah. Like, is it all just going to keep building and building until... Because how does the world end in this? Like, we don't know yet. We've just seen the stuff floating around. Does it vanish? Does it blow up? Does it implode? Does it just cease to exist? Like,
to me, I feel like you can see some of the debris. It's like it's sort of particles coming off it, like it's sort of disintegrating.
And I mean, as well, with it being called the reality war, just on speculation, we are, and even the toy maker touched on this, is that we all live in our own little realities, our own little bubbles, and all of these realities come to loggerheads with each other. Even like in the case of this one, like Conrad is in his bubble and you know, acting out and being angry against what he thinks is real and what's not, and trying to manipulate everybody into thinking that too. So does it all just like bash into each other and cause a big explosion?
Or is it literally going to just be, like you say, everyone's got their own little reality and it's the war of everyone just having those realities, and then the world just goes, nope, I'm done?
Yeah.
Or is it all going to tie into Wish World first, and then what is even going on? I don't know what to expect these next few weeks.
I know. It's quite exciting.
It is.
I'm looking forward to the Interstellar Song Contest.
Yes. I think that's where there's going to be the biggest of the reveal. 'Cause isn't that what Russell said? It's the end of that one that's got the big reveal for Flood.
Oh.
I think so, yes.
So that's like the one big thing that we know is coming, is what Russell's told us, and it's the end of that episode is going to be the big reveal.
Yeah. Well, we know Graham Norton's in that episode, so maybe she's Graham Norton. Or maybe Graham Norton's one of her underlings, because he's already been interrupting and ruining the show with in Rose and then in Time of Angels.
Oh,
What if it is just a big meta reenactment of that? Maybe something's going to happen in Graham Norton and it's going to like crawl across the screen.
Oh, I really hope so. That would be so funny. Mrs. Flood's about to reveal who she is, and Graham Norton just pops up and we don't find out till next week.
That would be absolutely iconic.
That would be bonkers.
Yeah.
Well, it might not even air at this rate.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine the most important episode of the series and it might not even get to air on TV? You'd have to watch it on the iPlayer.
Yeah.
Thanks, football.
Am I allowed to talk about the current theory about it all being a big meta like thing about the state of the series and whether it's going to continue or not?
Yeah.
That's opening up a whole big can of worms in my brain now, because that's like, well, what if the whole teasing of it's not going to air is all part of that too?
Oh, you never know.
And then I thought the same when it was like when Mrs. Flood was talking about May 24th, end of the show or whatever. And I was like, is she hinting at the cancellation? But then we were talking about it, weren't we, Stephen? We were like, is Russell T Davies playing on this whole, we don't know what's going on, we don't know what's happening? Is that all a big publicity stunt to feed into the series? Which way round actually is it?
I know. I was thinking that, like, if that's the plan that they've had all along, that's insane, and to have pulled that off is incredible. But it seems like, for the BBC and for Disney to agree to that, like to basically be, deliberately causing negative publicity for a grand plan, is quite a dangerous game to play.
That is risky.
But then part of me thinks, well, Doctor Who's big enough to survive that. And I think if it generates enough interest about Doctor Who being cancelled, it could be something. And that would be so... I mean, I would take my hat off to him if that's what's actually happening. It would be
genius.
Yeah.
But like, if any show could do it, I mean, do we know any other show that has a full series going behind the scenes of every episode and has its finale aired in cinemas? Like, no other TV show does that. Like, that is huge. It's enormous. And Doctor Who can probably withstand anything because of stuff like that.
Yeah. So, lucky day then. Can we give it a rating out of 5? Who'd like to go first?
4 from me.
Squibbly dibbly.
A 4. Okay. What brings you to that conclusion?
I think it was quite a solid episode. I enjoyed the themes, and I think there was good setup in it.
Cool. And Simon?
I think I'm going to go all out and give it a 5.
Top notch.
Wow.
Yeah. I think because every time we get the Queen team, like when Kate's in, she's a queen. Shirley's a queen. Ruby's a queen. Cherry, queen. All the queens were in it, and they obviously got quite a good amount of stuff to do. It was nice to see Ruby again. I liked Conrad as a villain because he was interesting. He had lots going on, and kind of haven't hated a character that much in a long time. So that was good, sort of from the writing perspective and the acting perspective, and all of it kind of coming together for that. And yeah, it was just a really good story.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it.
Excellent. See, I always shy away from giving things 5 out of 5 because I'm always holding out hope that there's going to be something even better coming. But I think I might be tempted actually this time to say, yeah, it's a 5 out of 5. It's a very, very strong episode. Yeah, I'll give it a 5 with you.
Top notch.
Woo! You never give things 5s.
I know. But then this is the thing. I've said this on the podcast recently, but like at the moment, I think I'm rating them based on this era as a separate thing, not the whole show. Like if I was, because some of the things I've given 5 to would be like, you know, Human Nature and some of my favourites like that. Like, whereas I wouldn't give this the same score as those, but just compared to this era as a whole, I think it's a 5 out of 5.
It was a strong episode.
Yes. And I have to keep reminding myself, like, TV has changed in 20 years. I'd have to stop hoping it's going to be the same as it was 20 years ago, when, you know, what I call my golden era. Like, it's not going to be the same. It's going to be different, and I have to accept that. I also like to ask people, just for a quick fire answer, what was your favourite and your least favourite thing about this episode?
Ooh, most favourite would probably be Kate. I just absolutely love her. She's a queen, and getting to see her to a point where she kind of doesn't care and see how far she's willing to go, that was really interesting. Least favourite thing, I don't know, there was a couple of moments where Ruby and Conrad maybe felt a little bit wooden.
Oh,
I don't know if it's because I was picking up on the rom-com vibes and I was kind of getting that feeling from it, and my gut was saying Conrad's evil. I don't know if it was wooden, but it was just like a couple of moments that I just read as not quite right. So maybe their relationship, I guess, is my least favourite thing. Even though it was pivotal to the story, it's just so frustrating that happened, and how dare they hurt Ruby. Yes, I think I felt the same about the woodenness of some of the performances. But like you say, there's an aspect of how deliberate was it, you know, to make it that it wasn't quite as real as it seemed to be. Also, did you notice the sort of the blurred focus on the edges of the frame on some of those bits? And it's like it's sort of like dreamy, like too good to be true sort of thing. Mm-hmm. I noticed that.
Go on then, Nick.
Oh, here we go. Favourite bit? Timey-wimey bits.
Okay.
Just because I feel like that really just kept in with the nature of the show. And actually, it's lovely to see with this run, Russell doing a lot more timey-wimey stuff. He didn't do it as much in his first time. And then my least favourite bit, I think just on a clear level, just sort of like just the sad bits that happened to Ruby.
Oh.
Just on
it's
a
quite a difficult
level.
Watch in some ways.
Yeah, it's harder to watch.
Yeah, as anyone who listens to the podcast knows, I really struggle with picking favourites and things. So, yeah, it's always tricky for me. But probably my favourite thing would be the twist and the reveal when the fake shrieks stand up. It was funny, but it was also shocking. And, yeah, the way then the second half of the episode went in a completely different direction. I think that's my favourite thing. My least favourite thing, I think I would agree, similar to what you said, Simon, some of the acting being slightly clunky. Not just Ruby and Conrad, but also Ruby's family at home. Like, some of it just felt a bit stilted to me, and I've always felt that about those characters. I don't know why. But it didn't spoil the episode for me, though. I also asked on social media for listeners to let me know what they thought of the episode. And Blaine says, that was utterly, utterly astounding. Viscerally abhorrent and hateful villain. Brilliantly realised monster. Millie Gibson carried the story just as well as she did in 73 Yards. And Ncuti Gatwa just ate with that TARDIS scene.
Absolutely. Like,
he was
if it proves
phenomenal.
anything, Ncuti going down the angry doctor path is the best thing that could have ever happened.
Oh, yeah. Well, I liked that scene, how he started out almost quite friendly to Conrad, but also setting a very clear line and a very clear boundary of like, you have to be invited into my TARDIS. And then when Conrad started pushing back, he started to get, actually, no, I'm the Doctor. Listen to me. Nuclear Euphoria says, great episode. Gives me a lot of hope for the Unit spin-off. Unit need to work on their security, though.
They really do.
Which is definitely true. Every single episode, we've had some staff member who's turned out to be on the bad side.
Yeah, maybe don't go work for Unit.
They need more screening checks. Sinea says, my least favourite so far, but that might just be because I hate Conrad, which is honestly fair.
Yeah,
I think.
Totally understandable.
Charlie says, 4 solid episodes in a row. I'm genuinely so overjoyed with putting on Doctor Who and not being anxious as to whether I'll enjoy it anymore, and having to be prepared to defend it to the naysayers. I do wish Ruby's PTSD was explored more. It would have been nice to see it impact her daily life. Now I'm just gutted we're already halfway done. I agree.
Definitely.
It goes fast.
It does. And the PTSD thing was nice to include. But yeah, we only really had it brought up when she was back in a sort of life-threatening situation, rather than, you know, it'd be nice to see how it's impacting her. Although we did hear comments from the family about how she's basically obsessed with the Doctor and sort of not moving on and not letting it go. But yeah.
We might see her again. We might get a little bit more to it, hopefully.
Yes. And finally, Caleb says, down-to-earth human naturalism and very pointed and cathartic modern commentary. This is what I've wanted most from RTD2 all along, and we finally got it from another writer. I went from apathetic about Ruby to really liking her, and that final shooty scene is an all-timer. Again, a lot of love for that shooty scene. Yeah,
it deserves it. It really
Definitely.
deserves it.
It's always, you know you've got a good actor in the role of the Doctor when they can just be in like one or two scenes and steal the show.
Mm-hmm.
A bit like it did in Dot
and Bubble.
Yeah. That
brought the theme back as well, didn't it, from Dot and Bubble? It was like the darker 15th Doctor theme when Conrad was in the TARDIS.
Yes. Love that. Lovely lighting in the TARDIS in that scene as well.
Yeah.
The dark with the sort of warm tones, and then you've got the blue of the tunnels that go off. That was nice. It looks much better like that than the sort of stark white that we get most of the time.
The clinical look.
Yeah. Well, there we go. That is Lucky Day. I feel like today was my lucky day, having two such fantastic guests on the podcast.
Oh, mine too.
Same. Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. Next week is The Story in the Engine. I will be back next week to discuss that with another guest. Until that time, though, listeners, stay cool, stay safe,
stay fantastic.